Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Bob Johnson Auto Group, proud supporter of Connections with Evan Dawson. Believing an informed public makes for a stronger community. BobJohnsonAutoGroup.com.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Our connection this hour was made with a call to action. In her editor's letter in this month's issue of City Magazine, editor Leah Stacy called on readers to show, don't tell. She commented on how it's okay to speak up about the things that we want to change about our city, but it's also important to show up for those things that we say we want. If we want a revitalized city, we should spend more time getting involved in the things going on in the city, she says. And what better time to do that than festival season? Rochester is often called a festival city, with a large number of events throughout the region scheduled from spring through October. Whether it's a festival of lilacs or cocktails, fish culture, there's something for you. We got a preview with the team from City talking about the recent edition. And for the YouTube viewers, we should make sure that you see this. It is, here we go, nice and high. It's beautiful. And that's thanks to the art director for City Magazine, Jake Walsh, who is right here. Hello, Jake.
Hi, Evan. Thanks for having me.
Next to Jake is Roberto Lajares, a multimedia reporter for City Magazine. I'm just kidding. Bob Lagares. Berto.
Not Bob. Anything but Bob.
Anything but Bob. Hey, Bob's the name of the new Pope. Pope Bob.
This is true.
But you're just Berto.
This is really big for Roberts across the room.
Big for
Yeah,
Roberts.
this is huge. This is huge.
Welcome back,
here.
Berto. Great having you here. And, of course, the editor of City Magazine is Leah Stacy. Hello.
Hi. I feel like I was just here. I feel like I had one
You were
sleep,
just here.
and now I'm back.
You were just here. I want to say that I think you are on the money with the editor's note. And I think it is easy to be negative about where you live. It's easy to be cynical. It's easy to say there's nothing to do, or that if there were more to do, you'd want to do it or get involved. But how disconnected are we because of the choices we make about what we don't attend, about what we don't support? I think that's a good question. So I just want to say right on with that.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify something because I got a couple of emails about that letter. I referenced an article that ran in another publication, and I think some people thought I was being critical of the writer of the article, which was not the case. It was clearly placed content, so kind of like an ad that looks like an article, which we're in media. It's a business model. But it was more that it was being posted in a Facebook group where I see a lot of people just sort of talking about things and keeping an eye on things, and I go out and do things, and I wish that the people who talked about a lot of things were out actually doing them, right? And we talk about that a lot in our office when we're putting issues together, when we're deciding what is, coverage-worthy content, when we're talking about our weekends in the office and what we do. I think our team has varied interests. We don't see each other a lot on the weekends, which I think is great for the team. I think that our different interests, our different ages, our different, sort of demographics within the tiny city team is really helps us vary the content. So, but I think overall, we just need to be more conscious of supporting the city, matching our dollars, our attendance to what we say we want to have here and keep here. Because if people don't go, it's not going to stay. And I think festivals are a great example of that, because a lot of them are free, but then you may pay for things there. And just going, festivals rely on people to go to them. So, and there's a lot. This guide was chunky, and we still missed a few, which if we missed yours, email us. We'll add it. It's online. It went live online this morning. And we're kind of in the middle of our biggest festival, which is Lilac Fest, of course. And I love that everyone who lives here says lilac differently. Lilac.
I do get that question a lot, and I
Yeah.
feel like I kind of internally am switching it up every single time. I don't know. I'm not good on the spot.
You can't commit? You have
I'm
trouble
not
committing?
We're playing to all people here,
Yeah. I'm not good on the spot speaking into a microphone. Who knows what I'm going to say?
But the funny thing about the Rochester accent, like Rochester, you would think it'd be lilac, but it's lilac here.
Lilac.
And I think some people would argue that I say lilac. I don't know.
I change it.
I made a pun in one of our social media captions when I put up the little promo video, and I did like a lock emoji on the end of it, and I was like, "Does anyone get this?" Only if they say it that way.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all
Well,
coming together.
We'll talk about the Lilac Festival
The
coming
Flower
up.
Festival.
The Flower Festival. We'll talk about that coming up here. And as much as we talk about, supporting the city or loving the city that you live in, obviously Rochester is the beating heart of it, but this whole region, this whole region has a lot going on through October, including in Caledonia.
Yes. Caledonia.
What's going on there, Berto?
Well, they got the good old Trout Festival, which I have to shout out my in-laws who are from Calmum, and they're the ones who put it on my radar. Casual conversation, Trout Fest comes up, and I was like, well, ironically, we're doing a festival issue. I think we should explore that. Originally, it was just to be in the guide, but then we got to talking, and we're like, maybe we got to get some trout in here. Maybe we got to get some trout.
I got to point out, I laughed when you mentioned the Trout Festival. I'm not laughing at the festival. I'm laughing because you called it the Good Old Trout Festival, which I think is not the official name of it, right?
No, it is not. But it is just the Caledonia Trout Fest.
So cool.
And it was great. Nick Sims was my point of contact at first. And, we kind of just got talking, what is it? I learned a lot of this was a historically heavy photo essay. I know, it varies. Sometimes it's 4 pages, sometimes it's 6, but depending on the topic, sometimes there's a lot of like research and just a lot of dense information that gets thrown my way that I gotta distill down. And this is the oldest fish hatchery on the Western Hemisphere. It's in Caledonia.
I mean, they do 250,000 hatchings a year. Like,
Yes, yeah,
it's a
and
huge
in
number.
constant rotation. So it's incredible. And they just make it look so easy.
But when I first turned to your essay, I'm like, is this a festival or is it like they're calling it a festival but they're just hatching fish? What's
So the main thing is more it's just a celebration of its history. You're gonna see live music, food, beer, all the good stuff. But then they also have the fish culture activities. So like a fisherman's market. There's the big one is that I mentioned in the photo essay is the kids trout pool, essentially. Yeah, pool. Which this year I believe it's going to be 2 above ground pools with an aerator inside to keep the oxygen going and flowing. You don't want any dead fish. But yeah, and kids go up, and this is like an opportunity for kids some of them to catch their first fish ever. And they make that promise that, no kid gets turned away until they catch their first fish. And then there's, prizes and whatnot. And one of the stories I thought that was really cool was that they mentioned how in some scenarios, they'll talk to parents and they're so excited because their child just caught their first fish. They may have just won their first rod and reel, and they're stoked. They can't wait to go and they've lived by the creek, but maybe they didn't have that with them at the time or didn't know how. It just kind of like brings more people into that hobby, and it's really interesting. And then of course, like they said, live music, food, the festival stuff, people.
So when is it?
May 31st, and I'll be there. I will be there. So
you committed?
I've already committed.
He's showing
Yeah,
up.
I'm showing up. I'm gonna be
He's
there.
showing up.
Yeah,
That sounds awesome.
I can't wait. It's gonna be my first one.
It does sound awesome, and staying with one of the themes of the hour here, the more disconnected we get, and that is fewer people are attending. And this is not like an endorsement of anything. It's just an observation. Fewer people are going to church. Fewer people are involved in neighborhood organizations and groups. We're gathered less, even though we could do more. So I do think it sounds awesome. I'm with Jake.
Gather around the trout. Why
Gather
not?
around the trout.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very good time.
When you said the fish culture, by the way, I'm a fan of the band Fish, and my radar went off, and I was like, "Are we going to talk about my favorite jam band on Connections with
You
Evan
found a way to
Dawson
bring it up.
today?"
Oh boy, is there a
Yeah.
fish
You did.
festival with a PH?
No,
Okay.
not for me. Not in the
That's
cards
good.
for me. Evan.
Isn't there an Easter egg somewhere in your?
There is, but we don't have to talk. We can get to that later.
I mean,
Yeah. We'll talk about that. There's a lot of fish in this issue.
We're talking to the team from City. The festival guide is out. Do we know exactly how many festivals there are in our region this year?
nope.
There was no formal number.
I don't think we counted.
I remember.
But as I said, we've already gotten a couple emails. Like I need to add at least 2 to the online guide. So
Evan, I remember last year, which we should not do again, but last year we committed to reading them off just as a list, and I think that killed maybe 7
did we
minutes.
really?
Yeah, we did.
That's so funny.
But if you,
It was
you
really
all-
fun.
It was so fun.
It was fun.
But if
I
you
blocked that out.
if you all want to talk, I can count and I'll report back with a number.
No, that's
or we'll skip the whole thing.
No, but
You got to
hey,
pick up the magazine.
You do. You have to pick up. That's exactly right. Why would
Someone tell us.
Why would we kill the reason to pick up the magazine? Just pick up the magazine.
It's our truth.
I also want to mention that Patrick Hoskin had a really interesting piece, and I think Berto, did you shoot the tent piece?
Yes, the majority of the photos, and I think there's a couple that were provided.
They
but yeah,
provided a
I
few,
was
yeah.
there.
I mean, like at first, I'm like, what a tent piece? But like, this guy's a big deal. Sean McCarthy's tents. What did you learn there, Berto?
There's a lot. I mean, the scale is just unreal, and that was one warehouse. And they made a point to mention that. They're like, hey, this isn't the whole show. This is just some. So it was pretty incredible. Just the variety. The irony is that in this portrait, he's sitting next to a few chairs. And when I saw, I'm like getting ready to take his portrait, I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have like, a repetitive thing in there, right? And I look at him, I don't know why I asked this, but I was like, hey, do you have could we get like a couple chairs out here? He's like, a couple? He's like, we got a whole way. I got plenty of chairs.
thousands of chairs.
Yeah, he's like, you take your pick. What do you want?
There are
And
1,500
I'm like-
chairs behind that door.
It was intense. I was like, why did I literally intense? Wow, sorry. All right.
No, you-
Anyway,
I mean,
Oh,
he
we
provided.
may have missed an opportunity there.
This guy provided the media tent during the presidential inauguration of 2017. So this is like a big deal, and I think somewhere in the piece I'm trying to find it mentioned like they spend the winter like drying out fabric and like just preparing for tent season for festival season. It's amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
and he does Holiday Village. So, I mean, doing Rock Holiday Village, that's what, almost 5 weeks that they've expanded to at this point. So I don't know that they really take a rest at any point. They're just
doesn't sound
turning
like
and
it.
burning.
There is an industry behind everything we take for granted as event goers.
Yes.
I'm finding.
It's a whole infrastructure.
Well, and we're going to be talking to Jenny Lamaglio in a second here, the executive producer of the Rochester Lilac Festival, who and Jenny said that they can solve any logistical problem that can be had in your festival with tents. I mean, it's just it's so interesting.
And they use McCarthy as well, right?
yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, they do. So that's an interesting piece from Patrick. In our second half hour, I'm also going to talk about, I think Patrick wrote the Tiki piece.
He did.
And so I want to talk a little bit about a Tiki festival coming up here. And you're like, well, didn't we just talk about the Rochester Cocktail Revival? Is that the same festival? It's not the same.
It's not the same. A little bit smaller bar-wise, but it is one of RCR's partner bars, Jack's Extra Fancy, and the team behind that and their upcoming Tiki bar behind Tiki Week. And we do work closely with them.
So we're going to come back to that in just a second here. But maybe the people who can really settle this debate about what in the world we're going to call this festival, Jenny Lamaglio, Dave Drago, they are both on the line with us now. Jenny is the executive director of the 2025 what, Jenny? How do you say it?
My name?
No, not your name. The name of the festival.
Oh, sorry. You're cut out for a second. Apologies. This is a Rochester Lilac Festival, the 127th edition.
I think she said Lilac Festival.
Lilac. Oh, that was a quiz. You got me.
So I've now heard lilac, lilac, and lilac. It was
Lilac.
like- yeah, it was almost like Dave Drago. How do you describe it? What is it?
It is a giant festival that has existed for what, Jenny? 127 years, and I think of it as a music festival because that's what I have to look at. But it's so much more than that.
Say the word. Is it lilac or lilac, Dave?
Oh, I'm sorry. I call it lilac.
Yeah. That's because you're wrong. No, I mean, like I
my
think I think that's actually right. I think that's actually right. In
Can
Rochester,
this be the entire interview, Evan? I love this. So.
that's it. That's all we want to do is talk about how we pronounce the name of the flower. Dave is the music director and talent buyer for the festival. And by the way, the festival runs through when, Dave?
Runs through this Sunday, the 18th.
This is one of those kind of serendipitous timings because in recent years we've had these really early springs, a lot of hot weather in April, and sometimes the lilacs are blooming early, and this was the spring that wasn't until now. And so now it's like this glorious week, and we're all very excited, and it's perfect timing for the visuals. Take us through some of, Dave, what excites you the most about the talent and the music that's coming.
We have some incredible national headliners plugged into our final spots of the night for the festival. Genres all over the place. And then, I'm always especially excited about our mission to try and support our local artists and musicians who are creating original music. And we just chalk the stage up full of really, really incredible local musicians and local bands, and it's been a real blast.
And can Jenny weigh in too on what is still on the calendar to come for the next few days here that you want people to know is coming?
Musically, we have such a diverse lineup. We have the Dirty Dozen Band, and we have the Aces, and they're just amazing group of women. We also have a very popular alt band called Beach Weather. They have so many, I want to say billions with a B followers. So musically, that's on board for us the rest of the week, including our very favorite Sky Coasters with such longevity in Rochester and notoriety, and just loving to not only bring in nationally touring artists, but to honor some of our favorite local people as well.
Dave, earlier we were talking to City Magazine editor Leah Stacy about the importance of kind of putting not your money where your mouth is, but kind of your feet where your mouth is, and kind of getting out and actually supporting events, supporting festivals. For all the people who say, "Oh, I love Rochester," but there's not enough to do, or there's not enough going on. You got to show up if you love a place. You got to show up and support. And how have things been in the last 5 years? Post pandemic, how have things been for the festival?
I can only speak to the last 2 years. Jenny definitely can weigh in with this because she's been running the festival involved in the festival for over a decade. But I've been really, in a lot of ways, some of these festivals, like it's weather dependent. We kind of live and die by our weather here. But I've been really, really impressed with the audiences we've had so far. I'm sure Jenny can weigh in on that as well. But every night we've had good weather this week. And even with bands that I know, like maybe someone hadn't heard of or whatever, people are still coming out, and the audiences have looked really, really amazing. And, it's kind of our first big event and festival in Rochester after our snow melts, and we kind of get our brains back and start getting ready for summer. And it's just really nice and refreshing to always see these people here just dancing and like getting vitamin D and just really, really enjoying themselves after a long Rochester winter.
Yeah, Jenny, you want to weigh in too on what you've seen, post-pandemic?
Yeah, for sure. When we had the pandemic, not only was physical illness rocking our world, we had, the emotional part of it, sort of sucked dry. So to see people, I like to say we're not doctors, but to see people post-pandemic sort of shoulder to shoulder, our videos capture people hugging each other because they're meeting there for the first time, or, sharing something to eat and dancing in front of the stage and laughing hysterically at something, or sitting in a huge group on the grass. Those were things that were probably there pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic, it's definitely more noticeable. It's definitely people's medicine to be outside, to be with their kids and their families. Even just speaking with Dave prior to this call, we've opened up a lot of new free opportunities here within the festival, which is still free to walk into, but, having a space for kids to go. We have a sensory tent, so we have families that are able to go out in public as a family and not have to leave necessarily. So I feel like, having that space available post-pandemic is definitely critical. So in addition to the music, we have things like the sensory tent. We have free water stations now. We have a free kids stage that is sponsored by Bach to Rock to honor, our youth and performing, free music for kiddos. And it's just great. We keep adding things onto the festival post-pandemic. We have not only, added features here within the festival, but also the look, the aesthetic, the feel. We have a lovely entryway. We have beautified the grounds. We've, rearranged the footprint a little bit. And that's all for people asking us hey, we love the event, but we are looking for more, and it's great. We have our stage headliners, ASL Interpreted, and these people that are with us year after year, they become family. Our vendors are local. We're supporting local. So people are spending money to go to a hockey game or a baseball game, which I go to those too, and I don't even blink twice by paying a ticket, coming in, getting my family some dinner, getting a souvenir, tchotchke on the way out, and a couple $100 in the hole, but you're like, hey, that's worth it. I've just been with my family for 3-4 hours and we made some memories. But here you can do that too. And when you buy lunch or, a drink from a vendor, you're supporting them. When you're going to our art and craft show and you're buying something special for mom or a friend or a baby shower, it's a one of a kind. These artists, that's their livelihood, and we're just super proud. We're close with all of the people here at the festival, not only our third-party vendors, but our exhibitors and our artists, and our restaurant owners, and we love them and they love us, and it's the flagship event of the year for sure.
Jenny, where can people get a schedule to learn more about what's coming up here?
Everybody can go to rocklilacfest.com, roclilacfest.com. We update our website daily. You can check out our social media on Facebook and Instagram, Rochester Lilac Festival.
And Dave, before I let you go here, what music gets people moving the most? What's going to get you your biggest crowds?
Biggest crowds? Moving and biggest crowds are two very different.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. That's a good point.
But I being a producer and a musician myself, I don't like to just automatically defer too easily and be like, well, people dance when there's a jam band or people dance when there's this or that. It's I think people get positively infected by good melodies, good hooks, and good rhythms. And I like to think that give people a little more credit and say, you know what, if we can offer them positive messages and great beats and great melodies and great hooks, they're going to dance whether they thought they were going to or not.
Well, good luck, Dave and Jenny. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for bringing some not only the event, but I'm going to give you credit for at least helping us turn the corner and feel like summer is coming here. We have needed this. We have endured a rough April. So the festival season is here. Lilac Festival is on now. Dave Drago, thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks, Evan.
Jenny Lamaglio, thanks
you.
for being with us. Yeah, thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
And Lilac Festival, of course, that's one of the big ones here. But we're talking about festival season all across our region. City Magazine has the new festival guide. It is out now. I got an interesting email from a listener named Jenny who says, Evan, not everyone is meant to attend festivals. There are a lot of introverts in the world.
I feel that. I would say half our team is introverts. We understand. But I think if you look through the festival guide, there are some quieter festivals. Is that a phrase?
Well,
there's film festivals. You can just go and sit in a movie theater.
I think everybody assumes that you host a talk show. You're like an extrovert. I am nothing.
Oh yeah, we've talked about
I'm nothing
this.
more than an ambivert.
Yeah.
And
same.
come 2:00 every afternoon, I'm very much gassed. That's
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to anybody for a while. But I take Jenny's point. I just think I don't think
Yeah.
human beings are meant to be isolated. I think one of the most important lessons from the pandemic is we are not a species that we are harmed by isolation, by extended isolation. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that everyone must become an extrovert or that you should go to every festival or talk to every person you see.
No.
But it means that connection and that being together,
Yeah.
whether you're an ambivert, extrovert, introvert, matters. Hey, introverts at the table, you still like festivals, right?
It's actually nice because then there's so many people. It is an introvert
Yeah.
festival because there's so many. It's like being in New York City.
You're
Like
not
no
gonna
one
get
cares that
cornered.
you're there.
Right.
It's great.
You're not
You
gonna
have
get cornered.
your autonomy. Well, I don't know. Autonomy is questionable in Rochester because it is rather small. New York City, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get lost in the
That's
sauce.
why you got to just get out of here for a couple days. I think that's really important too. Hit refresh. You come back, you appreciate things more. I also want to go back to Jenny Lamaglio for a second.
Yeah.
Because as she's speaking, I just think man, that is the person we want running a festival like this. She gets it. And so I just applaud, hats off to her. That's everything she was saying. I was like, yes, this is great.
They're working so hard to make it suitable for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's really cool here. By the way, extrovert or introvert?
Super duper introvert, but like anybody.
You're a super duper introvert?
I would say so. I value peace, quiet, and alone time.
You're energized by being alone, and it takes energy to be with people.
I think so, but that's not it's not keeping me under lock and key in my home. I'm around people all of the time, and I'm a musician and a festival goer, and I've got my hobbies and my things that I do. But I would say, I'm more introverted as the years go on. That if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be like, I'm an extrovert, like I would, and then I would like do a joke or something.
All of us, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, a friend of mine, Leah Stacy, look at the guy holding the black guitar. A friend of mine who's listening says,
This is great radio.
Back when we played a festival here.
Yeah.
That's Evan Dawson with a guitar on stage at the age of 20.
Did you just refer to yourself in
Nobody,
third
no, we're not
person?
going to show
Point
this.
that bad boy over
Seven.
here.
No.
Can the camera see me
There's the-
encouraging Evan?
You guys want to see a photo of Leah Stacy?
No.
I got nothing.
That was a bad idea. I want to say to
I've
Jenny.
heard you sing.
I want to say to Jenny who emailed and say, I do totally get it. I don't want people to feel like we're just like judging you if you want to have a night in.
No.
I'm just saying
Oh my
that
God.
isolation is not good for the species.
No, and
in
I do
perpetuity.
think going back to that letter, I'm not just talking about festivals. I'm talking about there are things for
100%.
every personality that you
Yes.
can support.
Yeah.
You could even do from your home. I mean, I am a get takeout girly if I need to be away from people, but I usually will pick local takeout. That's all I'm saying. It's like, let's support the city we live in. Let's keep these things here. We say we want them. Let's make sure they stay.
Yeah, I think that's really, really well said.
But I get it. The energy is not forever.
I'll say I was at the Lilac Festival yesterday. It's as anyone who's ever been to the Lilac Festival, you know that there's areas where there's many, many, many people, and then there's areas where you can find a tree and eat funnel cake, and that is
That's
what
right.
my
In
fiance
peace.
and I did. It was suddenly very quiet. I think it's nearby the sensory tent, and it's awesome that there is like something for everybody there. Because I need to get away from the vibration of the crowd every once in a while, or I'll go insane.
It's the largest collection of lilac bushes in North America. by
That's
the way.
awesome,
That's really cool.
and they smell so good.
So that's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
This is your festival guide.
Confirmed.
City's got this beautiful edition out now. We're talking festival season. We got to take our only break. We'll come back with the City team and march right on through this beautiful issue and this beautiful time of year, talking about it on Connections.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Sarah's Garden Center in the village of Brockport, dedicated to sharing knowledge about the art of growing plants for over 45 years, with on-site gardens to stroll, blooms to breathe in, and staff to provide gardening advice. More at sarahsgardencenter.com.
Right there on page 20 and 21 is this beautiful picture in City Magazine of what Parcel 5 and what our center city looks like when it is, they filled up, a lot of people there. I'm going to hold it a little higher so everybody can see. It's just so beautiful. And that's only one little parcel. I get it. But I'm really glad in retrospect. I think it was like the better part of a decade ago that Glenn Kellogg and a bunch of people were coming on talking about their proposals, what to do there.
Yep.
I think the Galenas, although I don't want to get myself in trouble and misremember.
Steve
There's
Carter was a big pusher of Parcel 5. Yeah.
Does this feel
The whole
like the right
team.
thing for that parcel to you?
Oh, yeah. When we have festival events, I mean, I've been to many fringe events, many concerts, the midday, like lunch events that Downtown definitely does, the movies. I try to get down there as much as I can. I also like to walk. I live in Neighborhood of the Arts, so I try to walk there. And so I have to plan that because it takes like 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, when you are, I mean, I was down there for the eclipse. I was on Parcel 5 for the eclipse, which, the weather was whatever it was. But it was really cool to be there with a massive crowd. There were like fire pits and kids, and it was cool. Yeah.
Well, the seat next to Leah is someone's materialized. Poof. And you can't miss him. He's the tallest guy in the building. Brian Sharp is here.
Is that true?
I don't know if you're the tallest. in the
Gotta
building. You gotta be close.
For sure.
there.
There hasn't been a. I was going to say.
You print
weigh-in
reporters, get that
measure.
microphone close to you.
Oh, weigh in.
Measure in.
Brian Sharp.
There we go.
We haven't
How tall are you?
marked it on a
It
doorway.
depends if I stand up if I stand up
If
straight,
you don't
6'5".
slouch. If you don't
Yes.
slouch, 6'5".
Same 6'5" over here.
Yeah, this guy's
Sure.
6'5". I'm 6'5" too.
No, not at all. I'm not even
I
close.
was like, wait a second.
Not even close.
Berto's really slouching. Brian is investigations and enterprise editor for WXXI News and a contributor to City Magazine. And we have Ken Glazer, the CEO of Buckingham Properties, on the line with us as well. Hello, Ken.
Hey, hi guys.
Great to.
I second that, not being next to Brian, because he's really tall and I'm not. So
He's a tall guy.
I'm glad I'm on the phone.
It's great to have you back, Ken. Nice to talk to you. And Rochester, or Downtown Hopefully is the name of the piece. Whose headline was that?
Oh, that was
you?
me. Don't blame Brian for that.
No, I like it.
I
Tell
thought
us
it was
about it.
clever. Well, so a lot of the piece is writing around the Downtown Definitely events, and they've done a great job with a lot of the things that they've done. And we were just trying to be clever because we didn't want to make it like an endorsement. We obviously support what's going on downtown, but also there's still a lot in the works. And so I think it was more to not only to be clever, but to express this like, hey, we all want this to work. So let's cover it. Let's talk about it. Let's go down and attend these events and support them.
What is Downtown Definitely, Brian Sharp?
So it's a number of events that are a lot of them people might think of around Parcel 5. There's some new ones this year. They're going to be over at the renamed Austin Stewart Plaza. They're behind the hotel along the river. Yoga with goats and puppies, which I didn't realize was a thing. And but I'm not big on yoga, so also have a happy hour time there to try and get people out. And there'll be some of the, or if not the first real organized events there in that remade park area. And then we just took an angle here to sort of look at this effort to bring events and such into the center city in the wake of, if listeners remember, the Business Improvement District and the push that was supposed to formalize some of this, and where we're going from here. And Ken is someone who I touch base with often for a read on just how things are going with the downtown office buildings and just the market in general. And he was active in supporting the bid, and I can let him talk about just where downtown is and the importance he sees in these events that are happening downtown and what more needs to come.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Well, I think the events, they're critical. See, we're really good at getting people downtown. We just can't seem to get them to come back on a regular basis. So Jazz Fest is always an amazing thing. We never have any security issues, and yet those people leave and they don't come back for another year. So, we're trying to figure out how to get people here on a regular basis so that they understand the city and they can help kind of unwind the narrative that it's not safe, because downtown, especially around Parcel 5, actually is a really safe area. But perception, drives a lot of people or makes people hesitate to come down. And we need to undo that.
Well, there's something you said in Brian's piece, Ken, that I want to unpack a little bit. You said that the city isn't designed to really be a neighborhood, and we're trying to get it to be a neighborhood, and that's going to take a long time. Tell me more about that.
And that's really sort of more of the architect in me that, physically, like Xerox or Innovation Square is a perfect example of something that was designed to be a little intimidating. It's up on up on steps. It's dark. And yet we got people living there now. So downtown, which was once a thriving business district, is now really, and we started this good 10 years ago, becoming residential. And it's still laid out sort of like a business district. So when we're improving parks and we're bringing people down there, we're still, trying to get it to feel a little more intimate, a little more safe, a little bit less from 8 to 5, because not that long ago, downtown was packed, but at 5 o'clock, everybody left. Now it's getting busier at 5 o'clock because the workforce isn't there anymore, and there are actually people living downtown working in the suburbs. So we need to make this feel like a neighborhood for it to really take in, to get the retail and get people on the streets, because people make other people feel safe. And that's really what we've been doing for quite some time now, a lot of these conversions, but it wasn't designed to be a neighborhood. It was designed to be a business district. So changing that over, as we were discovering, it's going to take a little time, and, we focus on a little area, we get that really nice and up and running, and then we're going to focus on another area. So, Midtown block, all doing really well right now.
Yeah.
Then we got to go back to the Four Corners and get all of that up and running again, which the new park would help a lot.
Well, Brian, I think it's interesting. Ken talks about the idea that if you're around Parcel 5, if you're in downtown, set the reputation aside or any perceptions aside. It is pretty safe, and doesn't mean it's perfect. No place is perfect, but part of the point there is, like, if you set stereotypes or assumptions aside, it's pretty safe. You also don't note in the piece that Ken and a number of others still want this idea of downtown ambassadors or street ambassadors, people who might walk you to the car, might be kind of liaisons. And so how much is there any momentum for that now that we've kind of moved past the bid war, so to speak?
I think there's always been interest, particularly from property owners. I think somewhat you saw that from the city, and then they created them in a different vein in the neighborhoods. There was a concern because there's, it goes back to, and I think they were still kind of guides, as I remember, but they were retired law enforcement, were the red shirts. And so there's concern about, I think, maintaining the downtown in the same way that we appreciate it, for the diversity that it has. I was thinking, just as Ken was talking of, so I, before coming here, spent a long time with the Democrat and Chronicle, and we were there by Blue Cross Arena for a while, and then we moved over to Main and Clinton. Totally different feel for downtown and the vibrancy and whatnot. Totally different schedule that you would see. And just if you think about, how quickly you can move between, he talks about creating a neighborhood, what it's like by Dinosaur Barbecue versus what it's like by City Hall versus what it's like at the Four Corners to Parcel 5 to over by Eastman Theater. So it's hard to really, I think, and that's the thing is, what's your event, what's your festival, what's your program that's going to knit all of that together when it gets, so very different. I'm thinking, also you go to Neighborhood of Play, completely different feel that you have there. But I think, and that's the thing is you have though visitors right now, they're coming into hotels, they're, coming in across from, to the convention center, across from the Riverside Hotel, which if anybody hasn't seen it for a while, looks pretty bad. We'll just say. So, and there's folks who just need to know, like, well, you might look down a street and not realize that, well, if you turn a corner, you're a Dinosaur. If you turn a corner, you're in the East End, and how to navigate that, because you can move through so many different spaces so quickly.
So, Ken, before we let you go, I just want you to kind of follow up a little bit on that about what you do want to see, because I know you're making the point that that perceptions of safety might not always match reality, but I want to hear what you want to see happen, and then if you could also talk just a little bit about the idea of density. We have a lot of cities have lost some of the density in different ways post-pandemic, and Rochester no exception. So what do you want to see next year?
I really think at this point we need to really start getting businesses to come back downtown. Historically, we steal each other's tenants and we leave big holes behind us. like the Four Corners, most of those tenants moved over towards Parcel 5, and we don't have anyone to fill in those spaces unless they come from outside the city. That's what really needs to happen. And we need that balance of work and retail and living. So what I would like to see is business owners being a little more open-minded to the idea of helping downtown. It's not perfect, and you're not going to have a sprawling parking lot outside your door, but we need downtown Rochester to really continue the momentum that we've started. And we have a lot of really good things going. But, to Brian's point on the hotel, those are big pieces that we got to get up and running. For better or worse, we need Main Street really active again. And just people living down there is not going to be enough to really get the density that we need to support restaurants and, anything with live music. We have tons of festivals. So people do come downtown, but they're not downtown people. They're just visiting. And we need people to think, if I want to go out to dinner, think downtown first, not second.
And when you say you want businesses to do more, be open to moving back downtown or moving their locations physically or something else?
Physically. The office market is not great, and that's everywhere. It's not great. But some of these buildings, to convert them all to residential, it's a hard lift. And I don't know if we've hit that sort of breaking point where we can't handle more residential. So what do we do with these big empty buildings? We need some big companies to come at least take a look at Rochester because it is affordable. We have a great workforce, and there is a vision for a lot of us that we're going to be one of those hot cities eventually that has all the pieces, because we really do. We have the river, we have High Falls, we're on Ontario. Rochester region is really attractive when we can just get people to actually be open-minded to being here, because transplants love it. It's the people who grew up here that tend to, not talk so great about it. And we're all responsible for cheerleading the city, but we need it. We need some activity. We need a shot of energy from outside the city, some manner. Constellation was a great plus, but we also lost a big attorney firm in the process. So that was almost a net zero gain. And that's what I'm talking about, how we get new tenants, but we leave big holes behind it. And we're not able currently to fill those holes.
Yeah, come on the program separately, and let's sit down and kind of go deep on what you think, are the possible paths forward for the city, because it has been a tough 5 years for all downtowns post pandemic, and I'd love to talk to you more if you'll come back.
Love to, anytime.
Ken Glazer is the CEO of Buckingham Properties. Want to thank him for his time. Thank you, Ken. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And Brian Sharp, by the way, that is the best headline in this magazine, I want to say. Rochester, or downtown definitely is the program. Downtown, hopefully. I think that's very clever. That's good.
It is a whole other show, too. I'm sitting here thinking about the work the Duttons are doing about home leasing. Megan Hooper leading that now.
It is.
There's so much going on, and it really is the next generation for a lot of these companies. I know Brian can second me on this. He's been covering some of their parents and grandparents, and now the next generation is taking the reins on this.
Well, when you think of, when I got here, Midtown was sort of in the process of emptying out, and then, became that sort of bombed out looking building for a period of time. And that's now probably the strength of downtown is in that area. And for listeners, if they're not sure, when he's saying Four Corners, that's the spaceship building that used to have the rotating. That building is now almost entirely, or if not entirely, vacant.
Up on top, the rotating restaurant, what's in there?
I'm not exactly sure. There's been everything from
We're doing a show on
Creative
that
Cloud.
alone. Everybody is always like, "What's up in there?"
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
Evan, if there's a way you can leverage some of your local muscle to get me in there, I would love. It's a bucket list dream as a
You guys
native
oughta go in there.
Rochesterian.
I want a photo essay on what's in there.
Why are you pointing
All
at Berto? I said I want to do it.
All right. Well, yeah. Well,
Birdo.
Can I come with you, Berto?
yeah, absolutely. I'm not going up there
I love
alone.
this idea.
I think it's great. Hey,
Aren't
listen,
you curious?
I just said it. I'm begging you.
Let's do it. Okay. And now we all have a we all have an assignment now, but we've gotten off course. So let's just kind of get ready to wrap here with a couple of things here. We're back on the festival guide here. The City Magazine's new issue is the festival guide. Festivals going on everywhere here, and I mentioned earlier, just briefly, I want to make sure I mention the Tiki Festival because I do think it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Patrick Hoskin notes that there's still some debate about terminology and appropriation. I actually thought there were some really thoughtful comments in Patrick's piece
Absolutely.
about that and finding some nuance there.
I think the bar scene is being very responsible with that because it can be a sensitive topic and has been in years past. And I think that's probably worth another conversation with the team behind Easy Sailor because that probably won't open until later this summer. And then, of course, Tiki Week is in August. But it was a lot of fun last year. Their inaugural year was really fun. It ended at Marge's, which, like, who doesn't love Marge's? We were just, like, in the sand during a tiki competition. It was a swizzle competition. It was very fun.
For sure.
Good vibes.
For sure, that is its own conversation to come. It's a really, really, really interesting one, really good one. And I'm a sucker for great tiki cocktails, too. So.
And we are doing them here.
Yeah.
We really are. Yeah.
I need more of the pebble ice. We need pebble ice.
Right? Wait, seconded. We pebble ice everywhere.
Pebble ice everywhere. Jake, what have we missed on that festival? We're not going to read them all, but I mean, like, the list is a long one here.
Oh, I would point listeners to become readers. Check it out. We have some form of this every year, and it's sort of a moving, living document that is written and rewritten, and like Leah said, like, it'll come out every year, and we are bound to have missed something. So it's sort of a snowball effect over the course of the years. But yeah, man, I've seen these pages so many times. My gosh, laying this thing out. Yeah, were you asking about the anything in particular?
No, I don't. We don't have time to do what we did last year, which is read every single festival that's ever been invented in our region. But what are a couple that stand out that you go, I bet you our readers have not heard of or didn't know about this?
Well, listen, the first thing that came to mind for me is I'm very excited to see Thundercat at the Jazz Festival. That's a big one for me. That's also a big boy, perhaps the biggest boy.
It is. I think people have heard of the Jazz Festival. Thundercat, now that's a different story.
That's an entirely different story.
Yeah.
Listen, I can speak with authority about the design of the book, not necessarily the contents within.
It's a great design. It's look how good this looks.
Yeah, and he has such a process, so I do think you should talk about that, Jake.
It's so pretty.
I can give you
One of my
instead
favorite things every month. I love it. The J-Man breakdown.
It's very sweet of you.
It's great.
It's very
great.
It's very kind of you.
I love it.
I can talk for like 30 seconds about that if we have the time. What are we doing here? Well, I'll give you just instead of giving a recommendation for like a deep cut festival. When I was doing the research for the cover of this issue, if you have it in front of you, if you've seen it before, if you're on the internet here watching us, this is sort of a culmination of a bunch of research that I was doing into the New York State Fair promotional archives, and it led me to the Onondaga County Library System, and that led me to all of these artifacts of print that mostly from the mid 80s, but they're styled like they were designed in the 70s. Pieces of print ephemera that you may like find tossed off of a library shelf somewhere. And this particular color scheme and general scattered aesthetic is what I'm calling it. The It's All Stickers aesthetic comes from the 84-85 Cayuga Chamber Orchestra program book that was produced in Ithaca, New York in the mid-'80s. It has some of the most beautifully, thoughtfully designed ads for small local businesses, music shops, sign makers, everything within it. And I kind of I kind of threw away the idea of like trying to figure out how to incorporate the legacy of the New York State Fair promotional suite of images and printed materials, and I went all in on the 84-85 Cayuga Chamber Orchestra program book, which is out there. It's if you search for it, you can find it. But take a look at this book. There's a lot of detail in there. It's a very detailed choice. It always takes a ton of time and a ton of pencil sharpening, but I like when it comes out. I like when it comes out like this. So that's
84-85.
Beautiful years. I was not around, but
Neither was I.
yeah.
I picked it up immediately, and that's what I thought of. I'm like, is this 84-85?
This feels like. Is anyone else getting 84-85 from this?
I was
like
getting
Cayuga
85-86
Chamber
vibes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was off a little bit.
Oh, the death of hardcore.
It's a great looking book. Festival season is going to be a lot of fun here. Leah Stacy, take us home here. Is there one or two that you look at that and you go, I can't believe this this is really cool. This is fun.
I just love the small town festivals. Like I think about, is it Avon that has the corn festival? Like the Rotary Corn Festival, like the whole festival.
I bet Brian Sharp grew up near some corn festivals.
I mean,
Sure.
we probably
Had to
both
be.
did. Where are you from?
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Oh,
Nice.
that's a little bit further than I was expecting. Welcome to Rochester.
Thanks.
Yeah. We've worked together for so long. I never knew that.
You didn't know about Brian Sharp there. Look at that.
Yeah. Cornfields.
Learn anything.
Yeah.
But often those festivals that you're talking about, those are like the beating hearts of
Corn,
communities.
trout. I think we found one with the photo
Corn
essay.
and trout.
Yeah. Go to a festival you have never attended this year.
I bet you somebody somewhere is going to go to all of them.
Yeah, just like open the book and put your finger down on the guide and just like see what you point at and you got to go.
And if you're that person who goes to all of them, you need to give us a call.
Yeah, honestly.
Brian wants
Please
to
do.
talk to you.
Brian will write your story.
Please do.
From all of us here and the team at City Magazine with this beautiful new edition, enjoy festival season. Thank you for listening. We're all back with you tomorrow on member-supported public media.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.